What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of your favorite Thursday evening Geeky Podcast. That's right. You are back for the Geek Boutique Podcast. Got a special guest back, just like, 4 weeks later. Mizz Chantal, how are you?
I am great. Not a lot's happened since I saw you last, but I'm happy to be back so soon because this conversation is right up my alley. So
Perfect. Hey, Mr. Jeff.
Hi, Keith L. mentioning, guys, just so you know, if you are listening after the fact, don't worry about what I'm about to say next. But for any of you that tune into our pre-show, the technical difficulties aptly named pre-show at 6:45 live on Instagram through my channel, you didn't get to see it today, as our friend Keith L. is saying here on the live podcast here on YouTube and on Facebook, living up to the technical difficulties I see. Apparently, the launch of something called Threads, which is something else on Instagram that's there now, is basically messing with everything else. So any one of us was able to go live, but as soon as another person wanted to join, it was El Caputo. So
yeah, very weird what was going on.
Yeah.
People were seeing us as live video pause. I didn't even know you could pause your live video on
neither did
Instagram.
I.
So apparently you can.
Well, you can. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
overload the servers, apparently it'll just pause anybody that's trying to go double Dutch or whatever you want to call it. So yeah. No good.
So, it
Don't
is what
give
it
me that
is.
look.
That's okay.
Oh.
We're still going to do our thing,
Yeah, we will.
Threads is love.
Wow.
Threads is life. Is Peter Jarvis paid by Instagram?
I don't know.
Paid
Maybe
by
he just
Facebook?
really digs it. I don't. How long has it been out that it's already like cemented in your
I don't know.
persona?
Did it come out today?
I don't know.
I only heard about it today for the first time. So
Yeah, me too.
my guess is it's sometime in the last 48 hours, possibly.
Peter says 2 days. I don't know. I don't need another social media. It's hard to keep up already. Like,
This looks like it's built into, like it's part of Instagram, like Reels or like the lives or
Notes,
whatever.
notes
So yeah, yeah, that's what it seems like it is. So at least that'll make it a little bit more accessible, whatever the balls it is. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure I'll find it and I'll screw it up, and then I'll be like, "Fuck this," and just never use it again. So
well, like we were talking at the beginning of the show, it seems to be some sort of a Twitter knockoff.
yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
And
In fact, I guess I just saw it on Reddit like minutes ago that Elon Musk is suing Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, for basically poaching all of the guys he fired from Twitter into making a Twitter knockoff. I guess he's suing for copyright infringement or whatever. So
interesting move, but
billionaires suing billionaires isn't really who fucking cares at the end of the day.
Megan Avery saying apparently if you delete Threads, it deletes your whole Insta. So careful,
That's
folks.
not
Really?
That's not good.
Jesus.
I have like
Yeah, that's messed up.
1,700 posts. That's not good.
I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't use Twitter,
Yeah,
so I
neither
don't see
Neither did
myself
I.
really using Threads. I mean, what do I have to say that people want to hear in 140 characters or less, right? Like I'm not that fun.
But you could
you know?
I
I
disagree, sir. I disagree.
I don't know.
You're a barrel
So
of misses.
I didn't use Twitter. I can't see myself using this. So we'll have to see. Hey, Mr. Ed Campbell is there. As soon as I tuned in, I got Vicky Vale vibes from Chantal. Batman 1989 better be number one on the list.
Not number one on my list.
I didn't
but-
say anything, but I mean, I think it was pretty obvious the look here. And
Well,
it's
she's
not
also-
number one on my list either.
But I think Chantal, let's see the shirt. Yeah, I think someone's a little bit biased as far as this
Batman
goes.
lifetime
So yeah, there you go. Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, and
Mad
I'm very
Vicky Vale
biased,
vibes
and
for sure.
I am fully ready to admit it. But
No, man. Hey, we're gonna fight on this.
I
on this program.
also do recognize there are a lot of fall down movies created in the DC universe, and it's upsetting, but there's nothing we can do about it. They happened.
That's true.
We can't go back.
But that happens everywhere. That's not just.
We
a
just
DC
don't talk
thing.
about it.
Yeah, that's not just a DC thing.
Oh, that's
though.
true.
I mean,
Not every Marvel movie's been a banger. They've all had
No.
all kinds of bad movies in their
Yeah.
lifetime. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you want to let everybody know what the premise of tonight's show is and what we've come up as a very simple rule?
well, sure thing, Jess. We're talking about the top 10 DC movies of all time. So not to be confused, by the way, notice that Mizz Chantal is dressed up very Batman 89. So we're not talking about strictly Snyderverse or strictly Nolanverse or anything. We're talking about any movie that came out that was based on a DC comic book, period. The only caveat we have is it has to have been released theatrically. Because if we'd included the, I don't know, 100 or so animated movies, we'd be here all night. We'll probably do a top 10 of the DC animated movies at some point when we're really bored.
That'd be, but that'd be a good one because there's some really good ones.
Oh,
I mean, let's be honest. There's
absolutely. Yeah.
Some of the best of DC came in animated form. Let's be
100%.
Very true.
But yes, we are talking about, so whether it's like 70s Superman, 80s Batman, 90s, whatever, maybe Jonah Hex is your favorite DC movie. I don't know. Who knows? But we're going to talk about it today. We're going to list our top 10 films. There is about, I think we counted earlier, it's about 50 released films or so, maybe even a little bit more, that are based on DC comic work. So, and by the way, that includes the imprints, guys. That's Vertigo, that's Paradox Press, that's anything Wildstorm. If it was published by DC Comics and it was released in theaters, it is in fact on our list.
We are also gonna consider animated theatrical releases.
Right.
So if it's an animated movie and it was released in theaters,
it counts.
We give a great example while we were trying to do our technical difficulties pre-show. Lego Batman, which is going to be my top choice, not my top choice, but my number one choice right now. And this is the one we're going to talk about. Lego Batman is an animated movie, but was released in theaters. And let me tell you something. Oh, Batman. Fantastic. That movie reinvented and reinvigorated my love for Batman. He is so good. He's so funny. I don't even know where to go with this. This was, for me, one of my favorite Batman movies of all time. I'll just put it that way. If this movie doesn't make the top 10, if animated Batman doesn't make the top 10, not animated, Lego Batman.
You'll riot?
Yeah, we're gonna have a show. I'm tossing this freaking desk over.
Be some table flipping? Nice. Well, if that's your pick,
we could watch JS flip a table.
Have you, Chantal, have you watched any of our top 10 videos before?
I think I saw the top 10. There was like a Christmas one.
There was
top 10 Christmas movies.
That's right. So essentially, this is what we do: is each one of us names a film. So JS names the Lego Batman movie, and then we decide where it will go on the list as a group consensus. So right now, it would be number one because it's the only pick we have. So
Lego Batman is going in at number one for now.
Yes. Now you don't have the. Are you going to put the list up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm just realizing when we switched over earlier, I lost the list. So
you lost the list. Okay. So in the meantime, so we know right now, I guess Lego Batman is number one. I think it's only fair that we move to our esteemed guest, Mizz Chantal, for her pick. Now, you don't have to pick your number one. You can pick whatever movie you say. We'll debate and try to figure out where it would go on the list. And right now, we're just going to figure out if it goes above or below Lego Batman. So,
of course,
swing for the fences or give us a weird one. It's up to you.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I think we have to put 89 Batman in there because that movie was, especially given that when it came out and the timing and everything, it was our first sort of dark Batman after the TV show and all of that stuff. And, you know, I think for the only people I've ever talked to that don't like the first two, meaning 89 and 92 Batman, it's a Tim Burton thing more than it's a Batman thing. Cause I've met people who are like, it's too Tim Burton for me. Personally, I loved it. You know, the first time I saw the 89 Batman, I was like 7, but I just remember like, the whole aesthetic of the movie, the darkness, the car, everything, going from, you know, watching the TV series with Adam West on TV and how campy and bright and colorful it was to this sort of new, darker Batman. And for me at the time, I wasn't obviously super into comic books, but it really appealed to me. And I don't know if it's just a nostalgia thing after all these years, but it's still one of my top DC movies of all time, if not my favorite. Again, totally biased, but I feel like it did a lot of things for the franchise. It gave a lot of I feel like it opened up the doors for a lot of possibilities. It gave the option to have a darker Batman. I definitely don't think we would have had the Nolan trilogy without this movie or without both of these movies. I think a lot of things that came after this are because of this movie. So I liked the casting, I liked the aesthetic of the movie, I liked everything about it. So definitely think 89 Batman has got to be on the list.
The cultural impact can't be denied. It was pre-internet, and Batman was everywhere. If you didn't have a Batman logo shirt, you were a loser. Like it was so insane how into the collective consciousness, how into the zeitgeist Batman was when this movie came out. And yeah,
product marketing was
bananas.
I had never seen anything like it at that time.
I don't know what the marketing spend on it was, and especially I'm curious what it would be on today's dollars.
And it fucking cereal.
It was crazy.
Back in 89.
They had a cereal.
And they got Prince to do the soundtrack. And they got Jack Nicholson to be the Joker. Like, it's just crazy what they were able to accomplish with this movie. And it is important to know. Chantal brings up a good point. Up until then, we'd really gotten a mostly cheesy or very superhero-y Batman. And it wasn't until Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns that Tim Burton admits that his version was largely based on, that it showed us that gritty, broody, dark knight, a real dark knight. So that's why this movie set the tone for Batman forever. Like they're just getting progressively dark. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about the Schumacher films, but progressively darker as we've gone through. So
the Schumacher films we will not talk about. I'm sorry.
You don't talk about Batman and Robin in my house.
No,
I'm okay with that.
No.
Tim Burton's Batman was the GOAT. He captured Gotham perfectly, is what Megan is saying over here.
I 100% agree. I feel like back in that time, first of all, even in the comic books, Batman was very different back in those days. I have a Batman comic book on my wall here, pre Batman 89, right? This comic book's probably from like 84 or 85. And it's still the blue and gray Batman, but it's back in the 80s, he was very stylized, right? Super long, giant cape and the big giant ears. And he was very stylized back then. And Tim Burton brought that in Gotham City. Gotham City, I think, was best represented by the Tim Burton movies. It was very, very comic book. Now,
how do we kick Michael Myers out of the chat? How do we ban him from the channel forever? I'll argue Batman and Robin as a good movie. You're gonna have a hard time. Actually, you know what's funny is I think editor Megan would actually agree with him, because I think she enjoyed it, and I think we have to kick her out of the Geeks and Co for that. I'm sorry.
I walked out of the theater during that movie.
Yeah. Brutal. Yeah, it was really bad.
Only time I've ever done it.
Batman 89. Got to be there.
89, it's got to be there. I already put it at the top of the list because let's be honest, it's better than Lego Batman, and it also gave us the Black Batman, right?
Yes.
Before 89, Batman was always either gray and blue or gray and black or just black. Well, not just black, but like black and white. But like the proper black suit Batman came from 89, and that's what we know now as Batman. Oh boy, here we go.
There's editor Megan. She's getting in there now. Batman and Robin is definitely a good movie, at least by comparison to the one that came before. I couldn't stand Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Yeah.
Hot take for Megan.
See, for me, it's the opposite. I could watch Batman forever before I would watch Batman and Robin. It just, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, both of them weren't exactly top of list. Like, I don't think for many people they're not, but at least they hadn't completely jumped in over the edge. Like, what was with the bat nipples? Like,
yeah, I never got that. Like, what the frick was that about?
The nipples on all the suits, the credit card scene with the ching. Like, it was just too much. And like, I think for me, the breaking point when I actually walked out of the theater was when Batman reached down and he's like, "Will you help me?" And I was like, Batman doesn't ask for help. This is bullshit. And I just like left.
Bye.
Yeah, Batman would have just left. Exactly.
I am going to interject here really quickly. We should have done this at the top, and we forgot. Editor Megan, one of the Geeks and Co.
Sorry.
It is her birthday today, so everybody wish Editor Megan a happy birthday today. Yep. She is 17 now. No, I'm just kidding. She knows how old she is. I actually don't know. But
yes, happy birthday, Megan. And actually, when we started at the top, what we also forgot was to let everybody know, if you're watching us here live on YouTube and you're not following our YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button. You know, we do podcasts live every week. We've got a bunch of videos that come at you every week as well, like our after shows. That's right. We've got 2 different after shows running right now. One for Secret Invasion, one for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I don't really want to get into this week's episode of Strange New Worlds because, oh man, it wasn't the best at all. But go check them out. We've got new episodes coming out almost every other day at this point. So make sure you click that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And it absolutely costs you how much, Jeff?
Sweet fuck all. That would be 0, kids. SFA is what it costs you. Nothing. Nada. Zilcho. So get involved there. By the way, it is my pick. So since we went new and then old, I'm going to go back to new, and I'm going to say Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix. So obviously, it's an Elseworlds type of story. It is an actual origin for the Joker, which the comics have stayed away from as much as they can. They've given a bunch of different origins for him. None of them have ever been officially listed as canon. So it is an interesting take, and it really shows it's a deconstruction of a human being and how one person could, in fact, how society could turn one man, one already broken man, into someone like the Joker. So for me, it's a fascinating deconstruction of the human psyche, and I thought it was just a brilliantly acted and shot movie. I don't know what else to say about it, guys. It was good enough they're in the midst of making a sequel, or they made it and they're waiting to release it, whatever it's called, with Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn.
Folie à Dieu.
Yeah, Folie à Dieu.
It's
That's
a musical.
Right. It's got some musical intonations to it, but the original is anything but a musical. I'll tell you what, if you're in a really bad mood or you're depressed, don't watch Joker, because you're not going to come out of that with joy, happy feelings. But if you want just a brilliantly written and performed and directed movie, it's hard to find something in this genre that's taken that seriously and hits that hard on that level. Personally, I feel so. If I'm putting it on this list, I would actually put it above both of those movies. But I know I'm gonna get some pushback on that, so that's fine.
Chantal, I will let you respond to that first.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I did not like that movie.
Really? At all?
If it wasn't supposed to be a movie about the Joker, I think it definitely had merit. But to me, it wasn't a Joker film, and there was too many things about it that like still bother me, like unanswered questions. Just, I felt it was overacted. There's a lot. I have a lot of feelings about that movie. I could sit here all night and go on about all of the things I felt that were, I don't know, that just didn't work for me. Now, I don't know. I wouldn't it's not in my top 10. So you can put it wherever you'd like on the list. So that says that. There was just, I don't know, there was just too many things about it. I think my biggest gripe with the movie was how they shoehorned in Bruce Wayne. I felt like he absolutely did not need to be in that film at all.
That I agree with.
It was just too much of it, tried too hard. And yeah, I don't know. I just I wasn't feeling that movie, because so many people ask me like, oh my God, are you going to cosplay the new Joker? Because I do so many versions of the Joker, and it just didn't resonate with me. So I probably have completely opposite feelings that Jeff has.
Now, as far as like your feelings aside, do you at least acknowledge or agree that the film itself was a major impactful film? He won an Academy Award for his performance. The second actor, by the way, to portray the Joker to win an Academy Award for their portrayal of that exact same character, which I think has only happened once before. Do you get how bigly huge the movie in fact was, both critically, financially, and then awards wise successful?
I understand that it was a successful film and that it had a lot of impact, but I also I lean towards a lot of it was just hype. I think they were leaning into the hype. I think if it was anybody other than Joaquin Phoenix, would they have still won the award? It's one of those things. I feel like there was a lot of bias behind it. I feel like it's kind of like when the critics or when people want a certain thing and then they kind of get it. I feel like that movie pandered to a lot of people.
You think the critics wanted like a deconstruction of a comic book villain from the 1940s though? Like, do you really feel that was a pandering?
Who knows? I mean, I think sometimes the critics just want things to be different enough that they can be like, oh, look how artful and whatever this was, and make up a bunch of big fancy words and go, this is why we're giving them an Oscar. when really it could just be that they want to give a particular actor an Oscar or a
But
director
didn't
an
the
Oscar.
critics hate this movie?
No.
No, it was very well critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos for taking a stab at doing something different. And, like you said, it was a really interesting deconstruction of a character that we are familiar with, because there really isn't anything canon to his background. But for me, like, if it would have just been a movie about a guy named Arthur, I would have been all in. But the weird Norman Bates relationship with his mom and like all of these different things, there were so many aspects of the character that just didn't sit with me, and I felt like they were doing too much. Like, he's got this thing, and then he's got this other thing, and then he's got like a head trauma thing, and then he's got, and then his fantasy world that he was living in, and then it's like, did he actually kill that girl or did he not kill that girl? We don't actually know if she's dead or not. We just know that he was a creep who ended up in her apartment. But I just feel like that movie just spun me in the wrong direction. Like, in the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, like, where are they going with this? But then it was just like, I felt like they just did too much, and there was too many things on top of things. And then I was like, if this would have been a movie about a regular dude and take out the Bruce Wayne thing altogether, decent film. But it just, to me, it wasn't it. And I don't know, that's like,
That's
I
okay.
mean, yes,
JS, where
I
are you in
understand.
this?
I'm
Like,
kind of in between the two of you on this one. And it's weird because the reasons I liked the movie was for the reasons you didn't like the movie. So I didn't think it was that great of a movie. I didn't think it was Oscar worthy. I don't think it's better than Batman 89. But it was I did like the movie. Would it make my top 10? Probably, but more at the bottom of the list for me. What I did like, and what a lot of people are saying, like, I'm looking at the comments here, our buddy Steve Jones, Root in London here. The new take on the story of the Joker was great. I mean, it wasn't really a new take at all. I mean, this is the Joker from The Killing Joke that we got to see, right? If you guys have read the Killing Joke comic book and have seen the Killing Joke animated,
to an extent, definitely
the
inspired by
Arthur
that.
story,
Yeah.
Arthur Peck story, or whatever his name is that
Black.
story right now. In that story, he becomes Red Hood and he falls down into the vat of liquid and blah, 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 right? Or the vat of acid or
That's
whatever,
what I mean.
right?
Inspired by, for sure.
Inspired by, right?
Yeah.
But that's the character we're seeing, right? Is the guy who thinks he's funny and wants to be a comedian, but he's a complete loser and he's a little bit of he's a lunatic, obviously, right? He's the fucking Joker. Let's be honest, right? So I think that played well. I think Joaquin Phoenix played him very well.
We can
Batman
put it at
89
number,
I've seen 10 times, 100 times.
we
Joker
can
I've
put it,
seen once.
we can put it below Lego Batman. It's okay, guys. I'm not willing to die on this hill. I'm just trying to keep. I don't want this to be a list of a bunch of nostalgia films. I want us to get some new shit in there.
Yeah.
So
for
we
me,
keep it fresh.
For
Yeah.
me, he would probably go here.
Just Joker,
this
my
point.
friend. Just Joker.
It is just Joker. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. The character is the Joker, but the movie is just called
You're
Joker.
right. Is it back to me? It's back to moi.
Back to you.
Back
Back
to
to
Vu.
moi. I mean, there's a little bit of a gray cloud above our one criteria that we've put in. That is that a movie needs to have been theatrically released. But there is one specific movie that was released during the pandemic that I have no doubt would have been theatrically released because it made banger in digital rental and all that stuff.
Mhm.
You guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. So the recut, reversed, the original. I don't know how you want to call it. The director's cut.
I would argue that because I don't know, over half, probably close to 2/3, maybe even more than that. The vast majority of what we see in the Zack Snyder's Justice League cut is in the cut that went to theaters. There was just a bunch of other silly bullshit that was added in from Joss Whedon. So every single scene in the theatrical release, every single scene that Snyder did in the theatrical release is in the theatrical release and in his cut of the film. There's nothing that was there that's not in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I would argue that we should include it.
Oh no, there are a ton of scenes in this movie that are not in the Josh Whedon movie.
Correct. But every scene that Joss Whedon kept that Zack Snyder shot in the theatrical release is in Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's what I meant.
You're right. Yes, you're right.
I apologize. That's what I meant.
Yes.
All Zack did was take out every single scene that Joss Whedon did, and then he filled
put his scenes back in.
That's correct.
Yeah, and he shot them properly.
So I think personally that we should be able to include it on the list. And I think there's some arguments to be made for anything that came out over the pandemic that would have been released theatrically. You could argue Wonder Woman 1984, which we talked about in the pre-show, was not going to make the list anyway because the absolute train wreck that movie was. But regardless, if in fact we were including it, if that movie was half as good as the first one, then we'd be talking about that movie as well. But it's up to you guys. I say we should be able to include it. We're certainly not going to include.
There you go. Yeah, it's in. That's it.
We're not going to include. Yeah, the executive decision. JS makes executive decision.
I feel like it has to be because it's such a solid film.
Yeah. And as much hate as the original got, I fucking love Jack. Man. I'm going to tell you right now, for me, it's probably my number one DC movie. It's
top 3 for me easily.
I would definitely put it at a solid 2.
For me, it's either 1 or 2. I could interchange 89
on this list. It's definitely number 1 for me for sure.
Yeah,
no question. Yeah.
I don't think.
Is this a cheerocracy or is this a democracy? Like, what are we doing here? Come on, man. Like, we gotta.
I mean, I can't say unanimously. Like, I definitely liked it more than the Joker and the Lego Batman, but I can't say I liked it more than the 89 Batman.
That's fair. No, that's cool.
Like,
you saw that movie when you were 8, like that. Like movie, Batman 89. Is there a more influential movie on your pretty little soul, Mizz Chantal, than Batman 89?
I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of like other DC films that I'm like totally love, and I have a hard time deciding which one I like better.
No, of course.
But it's.
But anytime we want to put something above Batman 89, you're going to argue that shouldn't go above Batman 89, aren't you?
Maybe.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, isn't that why I'm here?
Yeah, fair. You did dress as Vicky Vale for it, so I appreciate it. I get it, but to me, it goes above Batman 89. JS, where are you at? Does it go above Batman 89?
I think it might for me as well.
Okay, I know we're gonna get lynched.
Yeah, but I think it might have to go at number 1 for me as well.
There's no doubt we're gonna get some hate on that one, but
anything that pushes Joker further down the list is good with me.
Too funny. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Shit. Now that we're talking,
we're a half an hour in, and we're only 4
I know.
picks
in, fine.
Guys.
Well, some of these will get quicker, man. It'll be fine. We're good.
Well, the Snyderverse cut of the Justice League was phenomenal, and it had a lot of moments for me that were really exciting. Like getting to see Darkseid and getting to see Steppenwolf, and like when they walk into the thing and like he's standing there and he's talking to him and like Granny Goodness is there. I was just like, I was losing it, man. There was just so much. And then the Martian Manhunter at the end and like all of that stuff. I was just like, it was great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it was a great film for me because I was a huge Justice League animated fan, huge Justice League fan coming up. Probably just as much as I like Batman, obviously, and then Batman's a member of the Justice League, so there's probably why. But, being able to see that, because I remember watching 2017, the theatrical release, and being like, the hell was that? And for somebody who knows the story, I was like, there's so many holes in the story. Like, how do people who aren't familiar with the comics and the backstory follow this movie? Because it was so choppy. Like, you could tell there was so much missing. And then, like, you can tell when Joss Whedon took over,
Joss Whedon was trying to reshoot the Avengers, right?
But
like he didn't have 8 movies or whatever before to explain who the Avengers were. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he jumps into this trying to make an Avengers with the DC characters, but the setup's never been done. You know what I mean? Like the plan hasn't been put into place yet.
So it was a lot. And then just the way, like, the feel of the direction changed and stuff with, like, because Joss Whedon, it was like overly gratuitous and then the whole, like, let's shove in some comedy because Marvel does that and it works. And there was a lot of things to not like about that movie. So I was very happy and very relieved when the second version was released so that we could actually see the things that were missing. And I feel like it sort of redeemed DC a little bit to non-super DC fans because it made so much more sense if they were willing to sit down and just take the time and watch it. So I do agree that it did a lot. And it did a lot for the DC universe, in my opinion, with non-DC fans, because I think it sort of helped us out a little.
Well, it definitely reinvigorated people's interest and want to have more DC characters on screen, right? Everybody for years have been saying the same thing. The DC animated is where it's at. Well, that's great, but can we also have some good DC movies? You know what I mean? Like, it's, people want that, and this one was fantastic. And I'm gonna go back to what you were saying. That scene at the end where Wonder Woman cuts Steppenwolf's head off, and it just goes through the portal as the portal's closing, and it rolls down in front of Darkseid, and he puts his foot on his head, and I was like, dude, this is it.
No,
I want to see part 2 now.
That's the ultimate. It's the ultimate DC love. If you're a DC fanboy or girl, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it is the ultimate fan DC movie. Like, you can tell how much Zach loves that whole fucking universe.
Yeah.
And how much he poured it into that film. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, you do get a nice sprinkle of
everything. Yeah.
So it's nice.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, love it.
Yeah, hot take here. All these people online that say that Zack Snyder doesn't know anything about DC, they're on crack.
Yeah, no, I think he nailed it.
Yeah.
And can we talk about let's take one quick moment, and I know we're going on about this one, and I'm sorry we've already been on it too long, but let's take a quick moment. The reason why we got this film is because of online pressure. Like, this has almost never happened before, but Release the Snyder Cut trended so fucking hard that Warner Brothers gave him $70 million to finish this movie. And let's also really quickly touch on the fact that the reason why we got a Joss Whedon cut of this movie in the first place and not an original Snyder cut is because once most of principal photography was done, one of Zack Snyder's daughters took her own life.
Yes.
So he left the production at that point to obviously be with his family, be with his other kids, to support them. And that's when they handed the reins over to Joss Whedon with Zack's approval at the time. Zack was obviously not really super cool with everything that Joss did. So uncool with it that he included literally none of it in his cut of the film. But yes, I mean, the tragedy that led to the online campaign that led to Warner Brothers caving and giving him the money to do it, it's such a crazy arcing story that really lends itself to what we finally got as an end product. I think that needs to be addressed when you're talking about this, because it's not just, hey, we just made a director's cut of a film. That's not what happened. This was a whole
new film.
You could make a film about how this got made. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't yet. Like, document everything about it
one day.
They really should, because it's a fascinating story and how it all came together. Anyways, done gushing. I think it's Chantal. I believe it's Chantal.
Is it me again?
'Tis you.
This one, okay, so this one I definitely know Jeff should at least I think Jeff will agree with, is The Watchmen.
Oh, my number one, baby.
From 2009.
Oh, I love Watchmen so much. Oh my God. I can't
Well,
see. This is my Batman 89. So I can't, like, for me, it's number one with a bullet. It's such a great goddamn movie. Oh my God.
I actually, I really enjoyed the Watchmen movie. And again, it was one of those movies that kind of just did something different that we weren't doing at the time. And it's not for everybody. It's a slow burn. It doesn't give you all that, like, the big snap, crackle, pop that a lot of people want from a superhero movie. But the writing, the directing, I just really thought it was very well told story, and I'm never not going to like it. But like I said, it wasn't for everybody, because I know a lot of people that weren't, like, they were like, what is this? Like, what are we watching?
I'm going to say three things, and then I'm going to get the fuck out of this conversation because I can't be objective about this. I will mention three things. One, this is based on the only graphic novel in history to make Time's top 100 literary works of all time. So that's including everything that's ever been published in book form. It is the only one that made that top 100 list. Two, the film is slavish to that. book. Like there's almost every scene in that film is taken from the comic. He used the comic as storyboards to shoot the film itself. So it is very close to what they're talking about. I said three. There's only four. I'm so sorry. My only two gripes with the film. One, Matthew Good, who cosplays, he is cosplaying, who plays Ozymandias, aka Adrian Veidt, was miscast. He's the only miscast guy in the movie. Everybody else is cast perfectly, but he's not Ozymandias. He's not Adrian Veidt. I don't know who he's playing, but he's not playing that character. And finally, that movie needed to come out 10 years after it came out. That movie is way before its time. Like 2009 is a year after Iron Man.
Yeah,
there was no real established superhero universes for a movie that essentially thumbs its nose or has such a dramatically different take on superheroes should be there. That movie needed to be made in 2019, not 2009. And I think if it is made in 2019, I think it's a huge success because by then that superhero, it's like The Boys. It's like these things that have come out since then that people are seeing that are subversive tales on the superhero stuff that we've been force fed for the past, well, since 2008, basically. It's the anti-Marvel movie. It's the anti-superhero movie. Well, 2009 was too early for that. They just jumped the gun.
I think, I totally agree with you that it definitely was before its time. But I think to, sort of affirm what you just said, when they did the HBO series in 2019, 2020,
oh my God, so good.
It was wildly successful. I felt it was a really great follow-up and conclusion to a point. I was like raving about that series to people. Like, you've got
won awards, got huge viewership.
Like, well, I've never seen the movie, and I'm like, it doesn't matter, just watch it. It's excellent. So and that does attest to exactly what you just said. It did come out a decade later, and people were all in. And I think it made a lot of people go back and actually watch the original film if they didn't, or rewatch it with a different perspective, because I know for me, like the first time I saw it, I was like, that was different. And I had to sort of let it marinate for a little while. And then I went back and watched it again because I had seen it in the theater, and then I waited until it came out, which back then there was a little bit more of a wait. And then I watched it again, like at home, and I was like, man, that's something. Like, and it just always sat with me. And that movie I never got over that movie, because I was always like, man, this is that thing. It's like what 89 Batman did in 89. Except they were doing it, 2 decades later, and they were like, hey, check this out. So
same. Even the comic got in my head, and it just lives rent free there. Like, it's just such an amazing literary work. And the movie was such a huge. Anyways, sorry, JS, why don't you jump in on this? Because Chantal and I are like completely dominating this conversation. Oh, he's making that face. That's not good. Okay, fuck you, JS. Next pick. No, I'm just kidding. Come on, brother. Hit us with it. If you don't like it, say so, man. That's okay.
So I've never read the comics.
Fair. By the way, you should just as an aside.
I probably should, but I never did read them. So when the movie came out, I didn't really have a connection to those characters to begin with, and then, visually, it looked stunning. It was so different, and it was so artsy, and it was like it looked amazing. It just. I don't know. And again, another one of those movies that I watched once, and I never had any kind of intent to go back and watch. Like, it was just one of those, So I never even watched the TV show either, because I didn't care about the movie. So when the TV show came out, I was like,
I highly recommend watching the TV show.
And in fact, I highly recommend going back and rewatching the movie now that you've been spoon-fed superhero movies for the last 2 decades.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Watch the series and see how you feel about it, and then if you want to, go back and watch the movie.
Yeah,
I 100% think it's worth it. Yeah.
I
mean,
again,
it's one of those sort of.
I
consider it a more offbeat DC movie because it's not your typical like Batman, Superman thing. But I totally think it's definitely one of the best works DC has put together in the live action universe. It was I feel like it was very well thought through and put together, unlike some of their films coming from a DC fan. So, yeah.
So Chantal, if you had to put it on the list right now, where does it go?
3. I would put it above Lego and Joker. Jeff's like, can we make like a 1A?
I can. That would be my compromise. Sure, I could live with that. JS is like, I fucking hate you both. We vote 3, JS. What do you vote? Doesn't matter. It's 2 against 1. Boom. 3 it is. Woo! Watchmen, baby. Who watches the Watchmen? Not JS, that's for sure.
You guys suck. Watchmen.
Watchmen. That is correct. Yes.
I just to go back to the point that you were making, and do you guys realize that like 20 of the first 30 movies that DC made were either Batman or Superman related?
Yeah, of course.
Right? We've got Superman and the Mole Man, Batman, Superman, Superman 2, Swamp Thing. Superman 3, Supergirl. Superman 4, Return of the Swamp Thing. Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Like Catwoman, Batman Begins. Like, what the?
They know what makes money. They're not dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
It's
I
like-
kind of get it now when people say, "Can we get something else?" Well, yeah. Can we fucking like get other characters once in a while too?
It's like-
Justice for Lego.
It's
Shut up,
our
man.
it's our Spider-Man, right? Like they could do 1,000 Spider-Man movies and people are still going to watch it because
For
it's
sure.
Spider-Man. And it's like it's great. It's like kids, especially with the kids. Kids love Spider-Man. They don't care. And I
Mhm.
think it's one of those things where DC was like, okay, this is what we've got. Let's just milk it.
Yeah.
These are the 2 most recognizable superheroes of all time.
Mhm.
And by the way, they're
No,
they're the
agreed.
first 2 superheroes of all time. So
Yeah.
clearly that's what we're gonna do.
For sure.
Jeff. Oh, is it me?
Gia.
It is.
Well, now
Jeff.
that
and I
we're
just spoon fed you your number 1, so now you can have another pick.
Well, here's the thing. So now that if we're just bantering around number 1s, then now to really fuck up the conversation, I'm going to mention The Dark Knight because you have to talk about The Dark Knight when you're talking about DC movies. Widely, I should say, regarded as, if you did a poll right now online and ask what the best DC movie is, they would probably tell you it's The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight would probably win, mostly on the back of Heath Ledger and Christopher Nolan's brilliant writing and directing. I loved Batman Begins. I even love The Dark Knight Rises, even though I know it got a lot of shit. But The Dark Knight, it's just so fucking good. From the opening scene with that heist that they do at the bank to everything that Ledger does on screen to, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how you eclipse that. I don't know how you get better than that as far as a DC movie goes. What are your guys' thoughts on The Dark Knight?
Go ahead, JS.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Begins.
Me too.
Begins
is fantastic.
Reinvention again. Begins was another 89 for me, right? It was a reinvention of the lore of Batman and what he looked like and stood for and blah blah blah. My issue with Dark Knight is how they portray Batman in the second one. For one, his suit looks fucking stupid. I don't like how he looks at all in the second movie. Now, does that detract from the fact that it's a fantastic movie and Heath Ledger was amazing as the Joker and he chewed up screen time like there's nobody's business? But that little weird helmet he wears in the second part, dude.
He's so
dude.
you like it when every Batman before him had to do this every time they wanted to like turn and look sideways.
Well,
they
literally
can't turn their head.
They looked better on screen than that silly little helmet he was wearing.
Someone's done a supercut of all the Batman having to try to turn their head or turn in a certain way, and it's just so. It's just
called
so
the Bat
dumb.
turn.
It's terrible. It's awful, and I'm so glad they even make a joke about it in the movie. He says, "Sure would make backing out of the driveway a lot easier." Like Lucius says, "You want to be able to turn your head," and he says, "Yeah, it would make backing out of the driveway a lot easier." I think it was a brilliant way to make it so that he could function, just like with Pattinson's Batman, right?
At least he's not wearing hockey pads.
That's right. Not wearing hockey pads.
I'm trying to get a picture of him in his silly helmet.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's working
Oh my God.
I mean, the Bat turn is classic. You kind of expect Batman to not be able to just
terrible
quickly react.
I'm going to fight 17 guys without being able to turn my head in any direction.
Man, sometimes that's what it takes.
Dumb.
Um,
Anyways, This is a stupid hill for us to die on, by the way. It has no impact on the quality of the film, but
And none whatsoever.
None
because it's
whatsoever.
Still a
Yeah.
fantastic film.
It was a fantastic film. I
Uh,
agree.
Yeah.
where would it go on the list though? That's the key, right? 'Cause we're 45 minutes in. This is only the 6th pick. We can't spend the next 20 minutes talking about The Dark Knight because
Well,
yeah.
let's be fair.
Quick
I mean,
take.
for me, it
I don't
probably
put it
goes
above
below
Batman
89.
89.
Oh, you
Heath
want to put it
Ledger was
above?
brilliant. The movie was brilliant. I loved the entire trilogy. I was a little bit disappointed with some aspects of the third movie, but the first movie, absolutely, I agree with JS. Begins was amazing. The Dark Knight was fantastic. I enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises. There was a few things I would change if it was my movie, but it's not. But I don't like it more than 89. But I like
you see
Nicholson's
it below
Joker better than
89.
Heath's Joker, so that is also a very unpopular opinion.
What
So
did
you
just say?
see?
No, hold on, back up. Put the deal back on the record. What did you just say?
I like Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker better than Heath's. Nicholson is my Joker. I loved everything that Heath Ledger did, and it's taking absolutely nothing away from his performance. But
See, I disagree
Nicholson
with that
did it
myself.
first. Nicholson took the Joker and made him less campy and darker and more,
Did he?
conniving
Did he?
and
Not
sinister and
really.
stuff.
I
His
don't feel
Joker's
like he
way
did.
more 66 than it is.
But
It's
I
very-
feel
Like
like
Arkham.
It's just an amped up Cesar Romero for me. Ledger
Yeah.
redefined the role for generations.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
he definitely knocked it out of the park, and he did something different, and he took it to the next level and made it darker and more like psychotic and all of those things. But I don't know. So I mean, there you go. We're not
Well,
always
Ledger's
gonna
not
agree
my
on
favorite
stuff.
Joker.
Doris
either,
Worthy,
let's be
kick her
honest.
off. I can't. She's a guest. We
Kick
can't
her
kick
off.
the guest
Yeah.
off. She can just be wrong. People are allowed to be wrong. I'm wrong all the fucking time.
Yes,
I
we
have
know
a
that.
lot of people that really don't like to have that conversation with me because, and I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about it. And
Well, I don't care what either of you say. No Joker is better than Mark Hamill. So where do we put
but
this?
he's never been a live action Joker.
No, it
so-
doesn't matter. So where do we put? Where do we put The Dark Knight?
I don't know. Number 2.
Il Duce
that where you
for
wanna
this
put it,
guy.
Jeff?
I mean, that's where I would put it. So
I mean, I'd be okay with number 2 or 3. I would personally be more towards 3 than 2, but
I
again,
agree with JS. It's a
what's
3.
that?
for fuck's
You agree with me? There you go.
assholes. I hate this shit.
I know you do.
Whose turn is it?
Who cares? I'm out.
I think it's yours, JS.
It is my turn. Well. Where do I go
Fuck
on my
this
list?
shit, I'm out.
Where do I
Fuck
go
this
on
shit, I'm
the
out.
list? I'm going to throw a bit of a wrench here, and I'm going to
Oh.
say,
Not wrenches.
you love wrenches, don't you?
Mm.
I'm going to say Bird of Prey. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
How do I kick the host?
I'm going to say The Batman.
I am not mad at that at all.
Bold pick, sir. Love it.
So, I think we've talked about a couple different Batmans already. We've
Is
talked
it a
about
bold pick
89.
though, Jeff? I think it's a solid choice.
Megan Avery saying UJS. What do you mean UJS? Yeah,
This is
The
what I'm saying.
Batman.
This is a divisive film.
She's
She's saying ooh to Birds of Prey. All right.
Oh, Birds of
That's
Prey. Oh, yes.
Oh.
Okay. Thor's where they're saying them fighting words. Yeah, I'm assuming so. Birds of Prey, I'm guessing as well. Again, I feel like it gave us a different outlook on who Batman is.
Yes.
Every time they bring us a new Batman, that's what I love is when they're able to actually reinvent him, right? Give us not just a different actor in a different suit, but it's an actual different character. And this one really did that. It showed us a Batman that we've never seen before. Not only was he a much younger Batman, but he's not Bruce Wayne. If that makes any sense. There is no Bruce Wayne, right? He's just the Batman. Everything else is just him in his Batcave trying to figure shit out, probably on fucking speeds because he probably doesn't sleep. A very, very different take on Batman. And I like that they based it a little bit more in reality. I liked that the first Batmobile was a muscle car. I thought that was fucking genius. I liked the way that the Penguin was portrayed. dude, he's amazing as the Penguin. He's getting his own show, by the way, guys. I don't know if you already knew, but the Penguin is getting his own show on HBO Max. Listen, the only gripe I really have with this movie is how long the ending is. There's a whole half hour at the end that could have just been cut out that we didn't need to see. So the movie is a little bit long for nothing. Eric is saying here, Bruce was the alter ego. Well, that's the thing. At that point, the Bruce alter ego, the Playboy millionaire, doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? He's just an angry kid.
He hasn't realized that he has to be Bruce Wayne and Batman. He hasn't gotten that in his head yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it's still fresh and he's still angry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, I totally agree with everything you said. Like, the fact that we got the detective version of Batman from the comics, and to see, like, really see that side of him that we never got to see really that much in previous films, and how it is based in reality. Like, he's just starting out. He's still young. He's still angry. He's got all of this weird emo angst going on, and it's awesome. And then he goes and jumps off a building and wipes out, because that's what would happen if you jumped off a building. Like, you're not going to have this smooth landing and then just run away. When he wiped out, like, that was probably my favorite part of the movie, just because it was so real. I like the takes on the other characters. Like, I liked how dark it was. I know, again, it was a slow burn and it was a long movie for some people, and the whole movie's kind of dark, so people weren't really ready. And I also think that leaving out him as, as Bruce Wayne, and just sort of touching on it a little bit here and there, where you get like 5 to 10% Bruce, but like 90% Batman, I think was a good formula, especially with going into the movie the way people were doubting Robert Pattinson. Like, he's not Batman. He's like a twinkle fairy from Twilight or whatever. I don't even know, because I never saw those movies, but just sort of proving that he has the legs to do this, and that he has the depth as an actor, and like the whole thing worked for me. Like, I'm a big fan of that movie. When it comes to, I guess, current Batman, I wasn't mad at anything they did. And I agree with you, the whole thing with the muscle car and all of that. Like, really liked it.
Yeah, Keith is saying it's really more like Batman Year 2, because you're still figuring things out. Yeah, I think the producers did say that.
It is. No, he says
picking elements.
In the film.
Yeah, they were. Well, he does, but
he's literally, I've been doing this for 2 years. That's literally what he says. He says it a few times. So,
but the producer was explaining that he was picking bits and pieces out of the Year 1 story to build his storyline without it being Year 1.
This is why I love her. She gets it, man. She gets it, and she gets me. Jennifer, you and I are on the same page. Look at that, man. The Batman humanized a raw version of Batman the way Joker humanized a raw version of the Joker. I agree. 100%. It was a deconstruction. You're watching a guy that's losing himself to this monster he's created to fight crime and try to save his city, only to realize that he's mostly done a terrible shit job and nothing's really changed. He only starts to finally get it at the end. He's not just one guy beating up criminals. He's a symbol of hope. That's what he has to more lean into. And I'm getting chills talking about it, because it takes him that whole journey. That's why that movie's so long. You have to see him go on that journey to get to that point at the end. If you get there after 98 minutes, it doesn't hit home. You have to watch him go through all these struggles to see him finally at the end, And it, by the way, it's not fully clicked. He's just starting to get it now. That it's not just about being the strongest or having the coolest car or being the fastest. It's also about giving people hope and moving forward with that hope in their hands. So,
he doesn't become a symbol of hope until the end of the movie.
That's what I mean. Because that's when he's finally starting to get it.
Yeah, that's when he becomes Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before then,
he's
not enough. The Batman. Right?
Vengeance is not enough. Fear is not enough. You have to inspire. You have to inspire hope and instill hope in people. So, where do we rank the Batman?
That's hard.
Because right now on that list, I would be likely putting it around 5. With the
I was say 4 for me, but
I know it's gonna be 4 for you. You're gonna put everything above Watchmen.
I agree. It's around a 4 or 5. I would be happy either way.
Okay,
I never didn't answer the question.
I'll give you this one, even though I don't agree.
No one knows what it's like to be the Batman. 6 minutes to 8. We're at spot 6. We're going over today. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, we got 7. We got 7 listed now.
Yeah.
What was 6?
What was 6? What did you do?
Oh.
Undo.
Oh, it was Lego Batman.
There you go, Batman. There we go. Wow, that's pretty bad that we couldn't even remember what it was. That's not good.
Yeah.
The Batman. Whose pick is it? Who was that? Was that Chantal?
I think it's my pick.
Or was
No, that was
JS?
JS's
So
pick.
Chantal.
Oh, give her.
I wholeheartedly agree with it, but that was JS's pick.
That's fine.
Yeah. So again, it's a little confusing for me that we're including the animated stuff. But if we are including animated that was theatrically released, we cannot not include The Mask of the Phantasm.
Agreed.
That movie absolutely has to be on this list. I feel like this list is sort of shaping up to not include animated stuff, but I digress.
Well, we got the Lego Batman movie on there, right?
Mask of the Phantasm has to be on this list.
Yeah, that's cool. We started off with an animated film. We started off with Lego Batman, so it's not like
true.
we're ignoring them, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
would you like?
Here.
Go ahead.
There's only
JS.
a couple animated movies, right, that were released theatrically. So we're not talking about any of the direct-to-DVD stuff again, right? So there was only Mask of the Phantasm, Killing Joke, Return of the Cape Crusaders. Those are the 3 Batmans that were released theatrically.
Yeah.
And there was Teen Titans Go the movie. Sorry, Go to the Movies, which was fantastic. I loved it. I went there with my daughter, and Slade. And then DC League of Super Pets, which I have not seen, but I hear is pretty good.
I have
Right.
not seen that. Yeah.
So those are the only animated ones other than Lego Batman that were released in theaters. Well, sorry,
Yeah,
there also
so-
is a DC. No, there is none. The Lego DC movie was not a theater release either.
No.
It's just the Batman, just Lego.
Just
Batman.
the Batman. Yeah.
And I mean, you could argue. I mean, Lego Batman is featured prominently in the Lego movie, so but it's not.
Yeah, but that's not a DC movie.
I know. I'm just saying. I mean, Warner
Yeah.
Brothers
So anyway,
produces it.
Mask of
Batman's
the
in it.
Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it should totally be on there. I think that it was the first movie based on Batman the Animated Series, which, let's be honest, shaped all of our childhoods. Even Jeff
Yep.
being a little bit older, I guarantee you watched Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, of course I did. Jeff
There
being
you
a
go.
little bit older. Fuck you.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Batman the Animated Series was I was a little bit older when that came out, right?
Mhm.
So
Would you like my hot take on this?
yes.
Yes.
What's your hot take on it?
Didn't enjoy it.
Really? You didn't like The Mask of the Phantasm?
I really didn't. I
You're
remember
the
watching
only
it.
person.
I know. I remember watching it when it first came out, and I was like, and then I went to rewatch it maybe like a year ago or something like that. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. Like it's not good. So yeah, I'm not a fan. So I am going to respectfully bow out of this particular debate. You two can figure out where to put this on here, and I'll just yell and scream and kick wherever it ends up because I don't think it's very good. I don't think the animation holds up very well. I think it looks shoddy as shit. I think it looks like a barely up jump version of the TV show. The TV show was great for the TV show, but for a theatrical release film, I thought they would step the animation up greatly. They didn't. It's very just similar. It just looks like a longer episode of the TV show to me. So
That's exactly what it was. It was just a longer episode of the TV show.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like it just didn't really do anything for me as far as that. Yeah, yeah, we're getting there, Key. We're not done yet. We're getting there. Don't worry. I Superman 78 is on my list, brother. Don't you worry. It's
on mine too. So
yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Like you said, we're going long tonight, guys. Get comfortable.
I feel like we I don't know. I just feel like for at the time that it came out, because you'd also have to consider, Jeff, this movie was, 20, 25 years ago. Like for when it came out and like what it did at the time, like I feel like it absolutely has to be on this list. I don't know many people who are DC fans who don't like this movie. You're actually the first person I've heard say it out loud.
That's because I'm gonna get fucking lynched. That's why.
That's okay. Sometimes you just got to take it.
I'm gonna get murdered at the next con.
But yeah, I liked it. If we're going there, it's got to be on there. And yeah, because I agree. Like the animated series was so impactful, and it was it. Like everybody loves the animated series because it was fantastic, and it was fantastic when it came out. And maybe you were just too old to enjoy it, but it was something. So,
I love the movie. I actually have it on DVD. I don't know where I have a box of DVDs. I don't have a DVD player anymore, guys, but I have a box of DVDs in my garage. I have it on DVD. I'm thinking of potentially doing a Phantasm cosplay one day.
Do it.
Chantal does one, which is fantastic. My issue that I'm having right now is with this list, it would go at the bottom of the list.
See, for me, it would go at 7.
Of course it would.
Man,
I
she
don't
hates that
think-
Joker movie, doesn't she?
Yeah,
I don't think Mask of the Phantasm is better than Joker.
I mean, I agree, and I'm amazed that we're here.
That's okay. We can put it at number 8 so we can move along.
yes, it's going to number 8.
I mean, sorry, that's not what that's terrible for me to be cheering that, but I knew it was going to come up, so here we are.
Well, I mean, see, I originally didn't include it because I don't consider it to be comparable to Justice League and all of that. Because for me, like live action versus animation is a really hard contrast because when things like the animation don't quite hold up, it's like, it's like watching an old movie with really terrible CGI. You're like, oh man, I can't believe I used to like this nonsense. So it's hard for me, but
no, but it's like The Simpsons. Like if you watch an episode of The Simpsons and then you watch the first Simpson movie, there's clearly a difference in the level of animation. There's clearly a difference in the budget. They knew they were releasing that. They knew they were releasing that theatrically, so they really jumped up the budget and they made the animation much crisper, much cleaner. They added shadows, they added depth to the characters. For the Simpsons movie, they made sure that you differentiated between one and the other. Do you know how much money Mask of the Phantasm grossed internationally at the theater? $5.8 million.
That's it, eh?
Less than $6 million. So that's all I'm saying. It was like, I can watch this at home. I'm already watching the animated series. That's just this longer. Like, why am I going to the theater to see this? Anyways, sorry. We don't need to keep shitting on this movie. I understand what you're saying as far as
I 100% agree that it probably didn't need to be a theatrical release.
Right.
And it still would, to me, have the same merit and I would still like it as much. But yeah, like, because I don't think I watched it in the theater when it came out. I ended up watching it after the fact.
No, because generationally, it did end up making money based on the home theater buys and such, based on the physical media buys. JS has got a DVD of it, for goodness sake. So
here's a hot take.
But yeah.
Under the Red Hood was a better movie, but it wasn't theatrically released.
100% correct.
Under the Red Hood was by far a better movie. It's still based on the same TV show. Right. Also based on Batman the Animated Series.
Different animation style for sure, and a much deeper, richer, character-driven story. I think personally, for sure.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Under the Red Hood was a fantastic film.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of animated DC films that were absolutely fantastic.
Which we're gonna save for our episode about DC animated films, right?
There we go. See, we have to make a separate list.
We'll have Chantal back, and we'll do DC animated.
DC animated movie lists.
That's
all right.
Who's next?
AKA Messiah Complex Cosplay.
All right. Well, let's get Superman on there before Keith goes into some sort of apoplectic fit. By the way, I think we should just mash 1 and 2 together because that basically tells one story.
Yes, it does.
So I think it's important to have them together. I know there's people that debate between the two, and I don't want us to get into some law because for me, 2 is actually my preferred one over 1. But for a lot of people, probably like Keith and such, 1 really did. It was the first big box office superhero comic book movie, like bar none, right? So I think we should put the 2
do that with
together.
the Dark Knight trilogy too. We could just put the whole trilogy at number 3.
We could.
Because Batman Begins was also a very
good film. Yeah, that's true. But for Superman, I think we'll just lump 1 and 2 together. I don't think I need to really break down Superman for y'all. Like I know some of you watching this weren't around or alive when Superman came out, but same with when Batman came out in '89. Like Superman fever swept North America when that movie came out. Like the tagline is, "You'll believe a man that could fly. A man can fly," and people fucking did. Like it made Christopher Reeve a household name. It was the culmination of 40 years of comic books that we'd all been sitting around waiting for this to finally fucking happen. And we finally got a live action Superman, and it didn't stink. It was good. And we ate that shit up, and it was on TV all the fucking time. And it told a compelling story. And yeah, the effects are dated. And of course they are. They were in fucking 78. There's no CGI in 78. They had to do everything practically. And some of it's great and some of it's laughable. But at the end of the day, it tells a great origin story of the Man of Steel, and then continues on to his greatest battle in 2 when he fights the 3 Kryptonians. So
yeah.
Where it goes on the list, on this list, for me, it would probably go at either 4 or 5, but just for sheer impact alone, you could make arguments for like 2 or 3.
Yeah, my issue with that is I'm with you that my favorite of the 2 is 2.
Me too.
I think 2 is a better movie than 1. I understand the impact. 1 for me would go much lower on this list, where 2 would be very close to the top.
Right. My only argument there is, like I said, 1, it is telling one single story across 2 movies, and 2 isn't anywhere near as good as 2 is without you having watched 1. If you never saw 1 and you just watched 2, I don't think it's as compelling because you don't know the characters like you get to know them in 1.
I mean, that's kind of true for any.
No, that's what I mean.
Second
No,
part,
I get it.
right?
No, I
Like-
understand. But that's what I mean. It's a complete story between those 2 films.
All right.
You actually
Well,
get
where do we
you
put
actually get introduced to the Kryptonians in the first movie. You get to see them being put in the Phantom Zone
You
in
do.
Superman
That's
1.
right.
So you know that's your big old piece of foreshadowing there, right?
Well, they were filmed back to back, weren't they?
I don't know.
I thought they were.
I know Richard Donner got fired off of it, and they brought in Lester, I believe, to finish it off. But there is a Donner cut
Right.
that's got some unfinished scenes and stuff that they were able
Yeah.
to cut together and different ending, by the way, too, guys. So that's also interesting. But yeah, see William saying, like Superman 2 over Superman 1. Yeah, everyone's got their preferences. I'm sure Keith would probably say he probably prefers 1 over 2, and that's fine. Like, it doesn't really matter. They're Richard Lester. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's
So you want to group them as one?
I think so personally. I don't think.
Okay, and then
should
where
try to
would
separate
you
them.
see them?
Like I said, I would if it's my list, I'm probably putting them at 4 or 5. I'm definitely putting them over the Batman. For me, I probably don't put them over Watchmen, but I imagine you guys would probably put them over Watchmen.
Yeah,
Actually, Chantal, you've been I'm about to say you've been very, very quiet. Is this movie just too young for you?
Well, I ended up watching this movie like obviously in the 80s, but like after the fact because I wasn't born yet. When 1 and 2 came out, I wasn't born yet. I was born shortly thereafter. I do remember watching these movies as a kid and growing up with Christopher Reeves being a household name, and like he was Superman. That was just it. Until of course Dean Cain in the 90s.
Ew.
Well, he was on TV when I was at a certain age. Right?
Ew.
The Adventures of Lois and Clark was what? Early
Terrible?
90s, mid 90s.
It was terrible? Yeah, terrible is what it was.
Well, I'm not saying it was any good. I'm just saying
terrible.
up
It was
until
awful.
then,
Oh my god.
It was a
Christopher
very
Reeve-
popular
Christopher Reeves
show.
was my Superman. And and being a young female, obviously I liked Supergirl too. I thought it was great. I go back and watch it now and I'm like, man, this film isn't that fantastic. But to see a young like female superhero was really cool for me too. And then of course her aesthetic was similar to mine. So, it was very relatable. That whole representation matters.
I
because
had the biggest crush on Helen Slater. Oh my god. Oh, good.
so
Lord.
but for me, like if we're lumping them together, counting it as one movie, yeah, it's probably 5 or 6 for me. I'm obviously super biased and Batman's my guy, which the whole top of the list speaks for. So
I'd be okay with 4.
So it is what it is. I mean, you said what, 5, Jeff? 4 or 5?
Well, I have a hard time putting anything over the Watchmen, but I know how much JS wants to start putting shit over a Watchmen. So go ahead, JS. You knock yourself out, buddy.
Alrighty.
Yeah, there you go. Does that make you feel better? Does that make you feel good? 1 and 2.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Who's
right.
next? JS, I think we're back to you.
Are we back to me already?
I think so. Mask of the
Um,
Phantasm, Superman 1 and 2. Yeah, we're on you.
Can we talk about a movie that I don't think is even going to make the list, but I
Sure.
think needs to have at least an honorable mention?
Yeah.
We
The
can have
first
honorable
Swamp
mentions.
Thing.
I'm cool with that.
I've got some honorable mentions too.
Yeah,
so,
the first Swamp Thing.
Absolutely. I
I
love the first
mean,
Swamp Thing.
I feel like that was a movie that, I mean, back in the day, it wasn't a superhero movie, right? It's the Swamp Thing, right? It was meant to be more of a horror drama type
Yeah.
movie. And it was amazing. The effects were great. The story was amazing. Like, what kid loved a horror movie back in the day, right? Like, but it was a great, fantastic, well done, practical effects. And it was fantastic. Yeah, I love Swamp Thing. I don't know about you guys, but
Let me tell you
as
about
much as I don't think it's a top 10 movie, I've seen that movie again dozens of times.
Let me tell you about some practical effects. And sorry, guys, this is going to get a little bit PG-13, but I'm 9 years old when this movie comes out, and I watched this movie, going into puberty, and a lovely actress at the time named Adrienne Barbeau is in that film, and she decides to take her shirt off at one point, and that was a turning point in young Jeffrey's life, and really set a tone for me moving forward. Yeah. And what's funny is I remember at the time, my father was a huge Adrienne Barbeau fan. Absolutely loved her for the very reasons that I'm going into. And I remember that movie coming on and my father being very like pretty much standing up and clapping when that scene occurred. So yeah, it's that movie definitely holds a near and dear place to my heart, but yeah, there you go. Keith knows what I'm talking about. Adrienne Barbeau is a great practical effect. If you don't know, by the way, who Adrienne Barbeau is, she was in the original Escape from New York. She was in Cannonball Run. She's been in a ton of movies. Yeah, and just that's yeah. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say now, and I'm going to just back right out of this conversation.
Okay, can I make a real pick?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, is that okay?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna freak out.
No.
Begins. Batman Begins. Like, we can't put The Dark Knight at number 3 and not have Batman Begins on the list.
I feel like
Or
it's
does he fit
Superman
on the
1 and
list?
2 situation where The Begins and Dark Knight, to me, just that trilogy just is one movie.
Do you
Like,
want
it
to
goes
put? Do you
together.
want to put like the Dark Knight trilogy for number 3? That's what it's commonly referred to as.
I think that's what needs to happen.
Jennifer
Because the
Singh.
first 2 movies definitely make up for any of the like the pitfalls in the third one. But I feel like overall, as a complete piece, as a trilogy, I feel like it's to me it's Superman 1 and 2. Like it goes together. Like I don't consider them to be standalone movies because it's one complete story.
Well, the last one's not much of a story at all, but
Well,
We
That's
understand
right.
your hatred for the last one, but
I
not
mean,
everybody
you know,
feels as you
the
do.
last part of the trilogy is a similar story to the Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's like tragedy happened if in real life that made circumstances change. Nobody wanted to do the third movie, but they knew they had to finish the trilogy. It's like one of those things, right? Like everybody was gutted after what happened with Heath Ledger and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, you know, you go through the motions and finish the films, but it's not what it would have been. And we all know that. Like, I'm a huge Catwoman fan, and that is like one of my least favorite renditions of her. She was the writing for her costume, everything about her role in that film to me is unforgettable. It's unremarkable.
I didn't have any problem with the costume. Anyways,
Well, I'm sure you didn't, but I feel
Yeah, but
like
I don't
if you
even like
took
her
out
as
of
an
the
actress.
movie wouldn't have changed.
yeah,
No, I
I don't even like her as an actress. So right
JS.
off the bat, she was a turnoff for me in that movie.
Like
Why don't-
even just the plain black suit and all of that. Like she was so like if you just completely remove her character, the movie's pretty much still the same movie. She doesn't have enough impact for me for a Catwoman character. She doesn't have enough impact in that film. And that was always one of my biggest gripes with that film. You know, obviously there's like I said, there's things, but yes, I agree. Dark Knight trilogy. So does that mean JS gets to take another pick?
He absolutely does.
Amazing.
I get 3 picks in a row.
Basically,
Damn. Okay.
it's your
well, let me
fucking
see
show
here.
anyway. But yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah,
What else
yeah,
can
we
I
can't-
pull out on my list here?
Yeah.
How about? Well, you know what? I'm gonna go with Nada here. Is it Nada? Nada? How does she
Nada.
pronounce her name? Nada. Wonder Woman.
I agree.
Not 84.
Agreed.
Not 84.
I love how the main bad guy in that movie is the internet's daddy and boyfriend right now, but everyone still fucking hates that movie.
Because it was hot trash. And she used a human being as a meat sack, but we're not going to talk about that. You know, my biggest problem with Wonder Woman 84 was that they took everything to me that encompasses who Wonder Woman is as a character. And like they just went,
threw
"Yeah,
it
we
in the
don't need that."
garbage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
Wonder Woman was always the embodiment of like strong, powerful, leading female. She didn't take no shit from nobody. She wasn't interested. Like, you know, I remember in the animated series when the Joker and Batman are talking, or Batman and Superman are talking about their nemesis or whatever, and something comes up with the Joker or whatever, and they're just like, oh man, this guy's back. Now we gotta like deal with him again or whatever. And she comes in and she's like, I don't have it in me. And he's like, you, because I deal with it. Basically, like, I just kill a dude and move on. Like, she was so cutthroat. She was always so like about it.
Wasn't that in Apocalypse War? She tells him that.
I think
Something
so.
to the effect of, if you just get rid of him, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, if you just deal with it, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah.
Like, just take care of it. And then, you know, and then in the first Wonder Woman movie, they do this amazing representation of the Amazons and all of this girl power and all of this stuff and build up this great sort of base story. And then the whole second movie, she's pining over a dude who's been dead for like 100 years. I was just like, she wouldn't have gave a shit. She didn't care. And then they made her entire existence about this guy. And I was just like, wow, that is the polar opposite of everything she's ever represented to me as like a female superhero. And I just couldn't believe it. And I was just like, man, there's so many things that are wrong with this movie. This whole movie's hot garbage. But anyway, the first movie, absolutely brilliant film. I like I just said, I loved the portrayal of the Amazons. I loved the cinematography and the like all of it. I thought it was great. I thought Patty Jenkins did a good job. I was very happy to see that film. I was very happy to see that film happen. It's kind of like how they sort of went backwards when you got to see the Justice League movie and you got to see Wonder Woman come out and be a total badass after you just watched her do whatever the fuck happened in 84. And you were just like, oh my God. So it was like a little bit of a redemption for her, which was nice. But yes, I definitely agree that it belongs on this list. No complaints here.
Where would you put it? JS, it's your pick. Where would you put it, JS?
On this list right now, it would probably go at 7 or 8 for me.
I agree with 7.
I could live with 7.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah. I'm in an agreeable mood.
Are you? Jeff's like, it's bedtime. I want to go to bed.
Nope. I'm good. I've got a couple of honorable mentions I want to hit, and I actually have one more pick that's on my list that's not going to be on anybody else's list, but that's okay.
Well, good thing, because it's not your pick right now. It's Chantal's pick.
I know.
If I'm going to do an honorable mention, I have to say the first Shazam movie.
Yeah, agree.
Nice. Super fun.
That movie was fun. It was full of heart.
Fun.
It was really true to the story. Like, I love that you never forgot that they're actually kids. Like, even when they did the poof and they were the good, like the superhero, like it was just the way it was done, the acting, the writing. I thought it was so wholesome and it was so lovely. And I really, really, really enjoyed that film. So for me, like Shazam is actually up there for me. Like probably.
I think you mean Captain Sparklefingers, by the way.
Yes.
And that second, you want to talk about a second movie that was hot fucking garbage, just like Wonder Woman 84. That Fury of the Gods, oh boy, was that bad.
It missed
God
Mark
damn.
a little bit. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But
I wanted to like it so bad, and it was so bad.
Anyways, the first one, what was it, 2019 or whatever it was, I really enjoyed. I still really enjoy that movie.
That can live as an honorable mention, 100%. You got a pick for the list?
Sorry?
Do you have a pick for the list that you think is going to make the list, or are you just down to your own honorable mentions now?
No, it's just honorable mentions. I think I don't think there's anything on my list that would probably override anything on here. Well, except the Joker.
I have one that might.
Let me see. Let me look at my list.
I'm just, while you're doing that, because I've had a couple of people actually say it now, and this is really surprising me, but Suicide Squad. This is the third person in here that's mentioned Suicide Squad. Again, same thing. I know people talk about that. That was a very divisive film.
Was that the second one or the first one?
Well, the second one. I
thought they were both trash.
The Suicide Squad. I happen to be a big fan of the original film. I understand that it's a very divisive film. By the way, just so you guys know, it came out right around the same time as the first Guardians movie, and those two movies, box office wise, are nearly identical. They both made the same domestically and internationally, about 300 million at home and about $750,000 a nation around the world. So there are people that went to the theaters and watched and enjoyed this movie enough to go back to the theater and watch it again or recommend it to friends and such. I understand the Geek Nation kind of hated it on it, but I get this feeling that like the sweaty masses that don't really know any of those characters actually kind of dug it a little bit for its kooky vibe and the bright lights and the action sequences and everything else. So I think we should at least mention Suicide Squad. It's one of those films that, like, you can just see that really good film lurking kind of underneath the surface, and it just never really gets a chance to come out, you know?
Right.
But
Take
yeah,
the Joker out of that movie, and maybe it makes the top 10.
I couldn't
The
disagree
aesthetic
more
of
about
the
that.
I don't know. I just wasn't in for the aesthetic of both of the movies. The aesthetic and everything, like the whole approach, just turned me off. The animated version, the live action, not so much. So for me on this, if this was my list though, the Joker movie would come off the list, and I would put Batman Returns on there probably, because for me, Batman Returns was also a good movie. I enjoyed it.
I like how you're saying we would take 9 off, but leave your pick at 10 and just replace 9.
Well, because in
not
my
how this
defense,
list
though,
works,
because I
Princess.
don't
Doesn't work
consider
that
the
way.
Mask of the Phantasm to be on this list either for different reasons.
Right. I
So
understand.
yeah, so if I were to go like straight just live action and taking out the last 3 on the list, I would probably put in Batman Returns.
Well, Joker was live action, so we're not
V for
taking
Vendetta
that.
would probably be in there.
V for Vendetta is one of my picks for sure.
And I might even throw Man of Steel in there.
Man of Steel is one of my other picks.
So,
both of those made my top 10, by the way. Man of Steel and V for
so
Vendetta. So
given the circumstances on the animated stuff and the fact that I don't like the Joker movie, those would be the 3 that would round out my top 10. And then I would also give, as JS mentioned in the pre-show, I would give an honorable mention to The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as well, because that movie also, I feel like, was before its time, and people just weren't ready for that type of superhero movie.
it's a guilty pleasure watch for me. For sure. I literally just watched it again like 3 weeks ago or whatever.
And I'm a huge fan of Peter Wilson.
Okay.
So,
So what was the pick?
Batman Returns.
And where do we see Batman Returns?
Where do I see it?
Well, you see it at 8 from what I get here.
Yeah. Probably around 8.
Jeff?
Jeff's not bumping his Joker.
It's not that it's my Joker. I don't care about that. I don't think Returns is anywhere near as good a movie as 89. Like I think it suffers from a lot of different things.
Well, that's why we're all the way down at number 8, Jeff.
No, I know, but for me it would be like 10. Like it would be low for me for sure. Yeah. Or JS, it sounds like you're gonna have to be the one to be put on the big boy pants and figure out where this goes. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like we've got a couple more picks that are gonna bump it off anyway.
Right.
So whether it's at 9 or 10, I don't think those 2 are going to stay up on the list anyway. So we could put it above Joker, but unfortunately,
it's all going to get bumped anyway.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. It's my turn now, right?
Yeah, I think we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, including the animated stuff, because
I think it might be my turn.
Yes, I think
it is your turn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to get one of my honorable mentions out of the way while we're doing this. Constantine.
That was going to be my honorable mention as well. Yeah.
I fucking love that film.
Yeah.
Apparently, Keanu Reeves loves the film.
Yeah.
Really wants to do a sequel to it.
Yeah.
He's like going to Hollywood hat in hand going, can we please do a sequel to it?
Mm-hmm.
And before all of this writer strike and everything was happening, there were some talks that they were at least trying to get a script together, trying to get a story together. So I don't know that we're going to see it. I hope we do, because even though canonically it's jokes, like it's nothing compared to what the Constantine from the comics is like, it's still such a great movie on its own. And what Keanu Reeves does with that role, I think, is brilliant and well done. Peter Stormare plays one of the best Lucifers that's ever been on screen. Tilda Swinton as Gabriel, like everybody and Rachel White, like everybody just kills it in that movie. It's such a great film.
The casting was absolutely brilliant in that movie.
Fucking awesome. And like the creepiness, the creepy vibe that they were able to put into that without making it like just a pure horror movie, but enough of the creepiness in there to really kind of suck you in and give you those little chills every now and then. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant film, but I understand it can't crack the top 10, but had to mention it for my honorable mention. But if I were to put a movie on this top 10, it would be V for Vendetta for sure. Talk about an amazing film with perfect casting. Oh my fucking God. Hugo Weaving. How do you act with a static mask on your face your whole time and still emote and still get sucked into his story? Like bananas. And then Natalie Portman shaves her head in one take on camera, affects this great British accent, and just that rooftop scene when it's raining and she's crying and he's and it's an allegory to what he I love V for Vendetta. I live for that movie. For me, that would be up like 7 for me on this list. But again, I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably put it at number 8, probably on this list. But
I could live with 8. I could live with 8.
I would just given the list that we have. Yeah, it's probably around 8 for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I agree with you. That movie was brilliantly cast. It was brilliantly written. Again, not everybody's cup of tea, given, that it is, again, another sort of slower burn. And it's not a super exciting movie all the time. It does have, lulls. But yeah, definitely a very intriguing and a very good film to watch. It's again,
John Hurt as Cutler, like John Hurt is the bad guy on the big fucking screen with his giant. Oh my God. Just everybody just murders in that movie. Like everybody's just so goddamn good. And the story is compelling. So yeah, no, love it. Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good film. And for a long time, I didn't even realize it was a DC film.
Right.
And then I was like,
because it's the Vertigo imprint, again, written by Alan Moore, same guy that wrote Watchmen in the comics. So
Yep. No, I 100% agree. V for Vendetta is an amazing movie. So relevant still, especially during the pandemic. It was so on the nose. I remember rewatching it at the beginning of the pandemic and being like, like these guys are visionary, right?
No shit, right? Like it holds up. It holds up a little too well.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic movie. His speech. Do you know the speech? The V.
Voila! I'm not going to do the whole thing. It's a long ass speech, but it's brilliant.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
Jeff has it memorized. He just doesn't want
I have it on a shirt. Like I have it on a sweater that I wear. Yeah. By the way, and it's written out in the shape of a V. So it's
perfect.
Yeah.
Very good.
No, I think I agree that needs to go on there. Definitely. My turn.
Your turn.
Man of Steel.
Agreed.
I'm very biased, guys. Like you guys are gonna have to talk me off the fucking ledge on this one because I live this movie. Like this is what made Henry Cavill my Superman. So it's
I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I remember when the movie came out and there were a lot of people complaining about how, well, it's not Superman, blah, 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 this and that. And I never understood it because he was amazing.
Yeah.
Like he is everything that Superman is.
And it was his first day on the job. Like, settle down, kids. Give the guy time, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
We're willing to let shit go for a 2-year-old Batman, but Superman on day one, he's got to be the perfect Superman. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
There's such little nice, cool little things. Like when General Zod, played, by the way, brilliantly by Michael Shannon, goes to the Kent farm and starts tossing Ma Kent around, and fucking Clark just comes flying in and grabs him and starts punching him. He's like, how dare you threaten my mother? Like he's just like he's freaking out because someone put their hands on his mom. Come on, man. Like that's such a great, there's so many awesome little great scenes in that film like that to me, it definitely, like, for on this list, like we're talking like 6.
The trucker at the beginning.
So good.
And then he comes out of the bar and his truck is all fucking twisted up and it's all destroyed into telephone
47
poles.
fucking telephone poles in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think it goes top 10 for sure.
I would agree.
Agreed.
But I'm biased. Okay, hold on. Chantal, because apparently JS and I are like hard for Henry. So where would you put this?
For me, it would probably be 7. Actually, in reality, though, I liked Man of Steel better than the original Superman movies. Mind you, that is also very much a generational thing.
Fair.
Because when I was a kid, Christopher Reeves was my Superman. And it wasn't until, even though we went through a couple of Supermen over time, until Henry Cavill in Man of Steel, when I was like, boom, there's my new Superman. Like, he is the Superman of like the new generation for me.
For sure.
So for me, I would put it above Superman 1 and 2, but not necessarily above some of these other films. So probably like 7 on this list.
The Compromise.
Yeah.
I'm okay with 7. I mean, personally, I would put it above the Batman, but I mean, I can live with it below too.
It goes way higher for me.
Yeah.
On this list.
Like, where would you put it?
For me on this list, I probably put it 3.
Like 4 or 3. Yeah. See, I could live with it up there
4.
too, but we'll get killed if we put it up that high.
I mean,
I could live with it at 4.
Okay.
If we wanted to put it above the original.
I mean, do I feel like Superman, Man of Steel, or Superman 2? You know what? I think I still think Man of Steel. So okay, so hear me out. So Superman 2 was fantastic. We got to see the 3 Kryptonians come out of the Phantom Zone and face off against Superman. And back in the day, it was crazy, the fight in the city, and tossing guys into the Marlboro truck, and like branding was everything back in those days, right? Everything had branding on it because it meant financial dollars, right? Funding for their movies, but still, they've basically redid that story, right, against the 3 Kryptonians, but in such aggressive and angry and fast and hard hitting. And I mean, when Superman just fucking like his freaking heat vision is just like, oh yeah, like he just lets it rip and you could feel it through the screen. And there was such an impact in everything in that movie that just put Superman over the top for me. For me, for sure, I think he has to go. Man of Steel for me goes over 1 and 2.
Cool.
Agreed.
I'm good with that. I want to point out one other thing too that I
it.
loved so much about it is how Zach handled the super speed of the Kryptonians
that was amazing.
Instead of what they always do, what they do with the Flash is they slow everything else down and they showed them moving normally. That's not what he did. He kept the film running and he sped them up.
Yeah.
And made it look like they were like literally. And I was like, that's fucking wild. That's how he decided to do that. Cause it it would look like if you were just observing it from afar. If you were there at the side of the road when this fight's happening, that's how that fight looks. If you're there,
exactly.
That's genius. And really, again, like I said, nobody else was doing that. Everybody else was like slowing down everything and like, okay, I get it. That's cool. And that's a great.
And I know JS already mentioned it, but like Michael Shannon as Zod, like.
Well,
that was Jeff that mentioned it, but it was amazing.
Oh, was it Jeff? I thought it was you.
I think Megan's laughing at the same thing. Can we get JS?
His heat vision is just
that's
insane.
Never good. No, it's
same thing in Justice League, right? When he fucking grabs Steppenwolf and he friggin' lets it rip, and it's like, like you can feel the friggin' thing through the screen. It's Zack Snyder. I think he has an understanding of Superman that a lot of people didn't appreciate, but I loved it.
I agree.
And
it does feel like Man of Steel has gained a much better appreciation over time. I think it was divisive when it first came out, but I think as a lot of people have revisited over time, I think they're starting to realize, they're starting to kind of get it now, that it is a more modern retelling of the Superman story, and that it's a very, very good retelling. Even that opening sequence with Russell Crowe and his hot wife on Krypton and stuff.
Oh, that was wicked.
Fucking awesome, dude.
That's right up until should have been about.
Right up until the dick shaped things go up into the sky with the bad guys on them. Other than that weird aesthetic that they chose, that whole Krypton scene is like lit for me. I want to do I want to do that Jor-El, that fully armored Jor-El so bad, that cosplay, but it's going to be like $1 million. But
I mean, that's again, I said it.
Yeah,
the Krypton show should have been.
Yeah, I never watched a single minute of that because I knew it wasn't going to be that. And I knew
it was like a CW fucking Anyway,
well,
3 or 4.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to chop. Anybody got axes? We're gonna chop a tree down. Man of Steel is shit. Haha, I really hate it. Steven's out of the group, man. Steven's out of the club. I'm sorry.
Group's gonna get a little shorter.
We're gonna chop that goddamn tree down. Fuck that guy. Number 4. Put it in, sir.
Number 4.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
That's
gonna
make Robbie so happy. By the way, like Robbie's, I think Robbie said that's his favorite movie of all. Like that's his favorite comic book movie of all time is Man of Steel. It's just that
really?
Yeah. He has a little inside baseball. He has a 3D TV, like one of the newer style 3D, and he's got 3D glasses, and he has Man of Steel
in
on
3D.
disc in 3D. So I went to his
That
house.
must be dope.
I went to his house a couple of weekends ago, and we put the glasses on and we sat there and watched it. And holy shit! Like, I already love it, and he already loves it, but in 3D, it's a whole other animal, man. It was fucking wicked. It was so
that
good.
fight when they go through the gas station and they fireball
The whole
Smallville
Smallville fight,
that must
crazy,
be fucking
crazy town. And then the Zod fight at the end, crazy. It was awesome. Anyways, neither here nor there. I think that's a pretty good list. Does anybody else have any like honorable mentions they want to throw out before we stamped it, double locked it, no erases?
I mean, I'm looking through the list now, and I don't think there's anything else here that really makes top 10.
Yeah, no.
No, for
sure. I mean, BVS maybe deserves an honorable mention just because, it brought us a different Batman, and I loved the Affleck Batman.
If you've seen the Ultimate Edition, the Ultimate Edition does clean up a lot. It's a lot better. Yeah. I really dug the Ultimate Edition for sure.
Is it better? Because
it's way better. Yeah.
It cleans up the story.
Like,
It's kind of like the difference between Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, you can see all the holes they had to cut to make it a theatrical release. So when he puts them back in, it makes way more sense as a complete film.
Yeah, I really did feel like that movie also. I think that was my biggest gripe with it, is that it was so chumpy. Like, it was just
it
like,
suffers from the cuts. There's no
question
from the cuts.
Oh, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. We don't like
each
other. It's like, wait, your mom's name is Martha? My mom's name is Martha. Bros!
Yeah, that was dumb.
Like, it was
now, what's funny about this is
like,
we have the top 10. We got 13. We got a whole bunch of honorable mentions. And one of, if not the highest grossing DC movie is not on here and hasn't even been mentioned.
Which is what?
Even in passing. Aquaman.
Yeah, but
I know, but it literally made like over $1 billion at the box office. It wasn't
a bad movie.
I think it's probably like the third highest grossing DC film of all time, behind a couple of the Batman films. Like, it's a ridiculously popular, financially successful movie that I think is a great popcorn action film with a compelling bad guy with Patrick Wilson playing Ocean Master, and even playing Black Manta. Just his Black Manta is so bad. It's so cool.
But the question always becomes, like, was it because of Jason Momoa? Like,
here's the thing.
He was in a upswing in his career.
No, you don't make $1 billion worldwide for one guy that happens to be kind of popular, because then every movie that has a kind of popular guy would make $1 billion, and they don't. They flop all the time.
Comparing it to a film with The Rock in it, like, because The Rock used to do that for movies. Like, you plug The Rock into a movie, and then all of a sudden the movie made stupid amounts of money.
Well, the movie would make, $200 million, not $1 billion, right?
This is what I mean. Like, go watch Hercules that The Rock was in. That did nothing. Go watch Skyscraper. Go watch a lot of the stuff that are non-franchise films for The Rock.
Skyscraper was actually pretty good.
It wasn't bad, but it did make $1 billion. But you put him in a movie that's already established. No, I know. I get that.
I don't know. But I think a lot of the appeal with Aquaman was like the effects and stuff in the movie, like the idea of it all being underwater and all of this kind of stuff. And I definitely like you're right, it is definitely a good popcorn action flick. I don't have any particular gripes with the movie, but it's for me, it's just not top 10. Whatever the phenomenon was that caused it to be the highest grossing film of all time, because this was just before the pandemic, was it not? Was this not like 2019, late 2019?
Aquaman.
2018 for Aquaman.
Okay. So, yeah. I mean,
so you're pre-Shazam and pre the Joker. And yeah, it just made it's the 20th highest grossing
splash.
Yes, it made a splash. It is the fifth. It's the 20th highest grossing film of all time.
Wow.
On planet Earth. So, I mean, clearly it.
I'll go back to this.
It hit a lot of people. Yeah.
On this list right now, the only movie I have not seen more than once is The Watchmen.
Right.
I have not seen Aquaman more than once.
I'm not saying it needs to be on the list. I just thought it was funny that the most financially successful probably of all these movies is not actually on the list, which just goes to show you it's not always about how much it makes. Other times about how it affects us culturally, impacts us.
So let's be honest. This is a very subjective list we've got here, right?
Of course.
This is, if you get, a bunch of the people that are watching here, and you get them to do the top 10 list, I bet you it's completely different, right? So it is a very subjective thing, but yeah, a good movie doesn't make it a top 10.
Don't tell me no one remembers The Losers. We were actually trying to put together a cosplay group of The Losers.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
we
bring that
never
up
got
as
there.
as
I love The Losers. I
yeah,
think
it's a
fantastic.
good movie.
Yeah.
I don't
Just
think
didn't
it's a
get the
top
love
10,
it needed.
but
So
yeah.
no, we can give it an honorable mention, but yeah, don't be
Yeah,
talking.
it was a good film. It's again, some films are just sort of out of time. Because I feel like with this list, like you could chop it a lot of ways. You could do generationally, you could do like pre-time period, post-time period, whatever. Animated, not animated, theatrical, not theatrical, director's cut, whatever. And again, for a lot of these movies, I feel like there's always going to be an element of nostalgia or like
True.
the time in your life when you saw this.
Look at our
movie, like,
number 2.
100%.
Clearly, that's a nostalgia pick.
Yeah,
Like, come on,
100%.
But
man. Like,
in my honestly, I still think that film holds up. I don't think it's aged out as
right, but you can't look at it.
badly as some movies from the late 80s have aged out.
But you can't look at that movie objectively. Like it's simply not possible for you. That movie is like a turning point in your fucking life. Like so much of what you just said, the movie's subjective. Sorry, the list is subjective.
I'm totally
Of course it is.
biased.
Yeah. We all have our biases when it comes to this and how subjective we could be about stuff. So yeah, I saw Megan say that. I love how the pandemic was our blip and we refer to things pre and post. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Only it didn't completely fuck up our timeline, so we don't know when anything takes place like it does in Marvel. Okay, sorry.
The real, for me, only one that was a fantastic movie that we have not mentioned is A History of Violence.
Granted.
And A History of Violence, again, I don't think it's a top 10, but it's one of those movies that was fantastic. The visuals were amazing. The way some of the angles in that movie are filmed, especially at the beginning in the restaurant where what's his face, Ed Harris, comes in to confront him and basically lets him know that he knows who he is. The angles that whole scene was shot in was fantastic. The acting was amazing. And what's his name?
Viggo
Mortensen. He became a badass after that for me because he was okay in the Lord of the Rings, but this for me was the role for him.
Yeah, you really got to see his acting chops in that
This
movie.
for me was the role for him.
And again, it was for a long time. I didn't
about?
really realize that it was a DC film. I just saw this movie about this guy and I was like,
yeah,
good flick. And, coming off of The Lord of the Rings, obviously we were very interested in Viggo Mortensen. What's the matter, Jeff? Why are you losing it here?
No, it's fine. Just go ahead. It's fine.
What? He was great in The Lord of the Rings. Was he not great in The Lord of the Rings?
Jeff's going to lose it.
Hey, I got a question here in the group chat here going on over there. What is your guys' thoughts on Brandon's take of the Superman Returns movie? His take was okay. The movie was the hottest garbage.
Yeah. I thought he was a great Superman. I thought that he had a lot of the same charm and characteristics that Christopher Reeves brought to the role. I think that they tried to play him off as a replacement to Christopher Reeves, and that was a mistake.
Agreed.
And by the way, he was very young when he was cast.
He was
Superman.
Yeah.
Like he'd done pretty much nothing else up until that point, and then he was just thrust into the role of Superman
right here. But if they had made him his own Superman, I think that would have been. He does the Kingdom Come Superman in the okay, so let's back
Arrowverse. In the Arrowverse.
Brandon Routh,
yes,
who plays Superman in Superman Returns,
right,
also plays the Atom in
the Arrowverse.
The Arrowverse. In the Arrowverse, they have this major crossover where they're going through the multiverse and they're grabbing different Supermans and different, versions of different people. And one of the Superman is Brendan Routh. And they're like, wait a second, but you're, what's his face? He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm Clark Kent. So it turns out that in this reality, he's the Kingdom Come style Superman.
Correct.
And it was amazing. Like I love him as Superman. But the movie was shit. If they had given him a proper movie, a proper story, I think he could have done fantastic.
He does not throw a single punch in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah.
Superman. doesn't throw one punch in the whole fucking movie. What are you doing? Terrible.
And what's his face as Lex was kind of dumb.
I didn't mind Spacey as Lex. I loved how much he loved being Lex. I actually didn't mind him as Lex too much. That's fine.
Not my favorite.
No,
again, they were
he's
trying
favorite,
to copy Gene Hackman and what's her face, right?
Yeah.
Like they were
It didn't work for me.
trying. You know, anyway.
Because I like Lex as a character, and it didn't work for me. Kevin Spacey didn't work for me.
The Gene Hackman character didn't really work as a proper Lex Luthor character either. Like he wasn't really Lex. Let's be honest, right? Yeah. As good as those two first movies were, well, he was really only in the first one. Was he even in the second one?
Yeah, of course. He ends up being the liaison for the Kryptonians on Earth.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Then they go to the Fortress of Solitude, and he reverses it and crushes Zod's hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. He was better in the second one, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, I loved him in both, but I mean, it's fine. It's cool.
Yeah. All right, listen. We've been on for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, these top 10 lists always go long.
Yeah,
we have to draw out and discuss every movie we talk about, so it's fine.
Yeah, and we're losing people by the minute here.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I think we're pretty much done. Was there anything else you guys wanted to bring up or mention before we go?
No, we covered everything that I think should be in a top 10 list.
I agree. And hey, look at that, Chantal. Where did Joker end up? Not on the list. Aw,
look at that.
Batman Returns didn't either, though, and that hurts.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
so if we go through the top 10, Zack Snyder Justice League, my number one pick, ended up at number 1. Batman 89, the Dark Knight trilogy. Yes, we cheated a little bit. We put 3 movies into 1 here.
That's okay.
Man of Steel at number 4, Superman 1 and 2 again. We grouped the 2 at number 5. Jeff made a good case that they were kind of one story rolled into 2 movies, which I can understand and see. Watchmen at number 6, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. The Batman at number 7. That ended up higher than I thought it would. Wonder Woman at number 8. V for Vendetta at number 9. I'm happy that one made the list.
Me too.
And Lego Batman at number 10. I'm also super happy that not only did an animated movie make the list, but that it's Lego Batman because it's fantastic. What's his name? Arnett?
Will Arnett.
Will Arnett.
Yeah,
he's so good as Lego Batman.
Agreed.
Oh yeah. Chantal.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming back on the show. It was amazing to have you again. We'll have you again for sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Where are we seeing you next?
I will be at Montreal Comic-Con next weekend for the entire weekend.
And then after that, what's after that?
Fan Expo.
Fan Expo would be the next one after that. Wow, that's coming up quick.
I know. It's like blink and it's gone.
Yeah, and I'm still freaking injured and hurting, and I haven't been working on my costumes because I'm in pain and
I'm an old man.
Yeah, growing old sucks. Talking about growing old, Jeff.
How's
it going, bud?
Pretty good. Yeah, nothing on the horizon for me. We just did the big Suit Up for Jack blood drive. We just did that 2 days ago. Mizz Chantal was nice enough to come out and support that as well and gave blood. The turnout this year was twice what it was last year, maybe 3 times. It was a really big turnout. And most of the people that came out donated. So yeah, Steve was there too. The tree was there. By the way, Steve shaved. Like he looks really? Like so he looks like Baby Groot now. It's like take your son to work day. So guys, we are still putting the word out. Suit Up for Jack is the hashtag that we're promoting, and it's really just awareness to go out and give blood. It's in you to give. It costs you nothing but a little bit of your time. You get some snacks and cookies and drinks and such, and you're literally saving lives. So all you cosplayers out there cosplaying heroes, all the heroes that we discussed here today, heroes save lives. And when you're giving blood, that's what you're doing. You're saving lives. In particular, we come out for a young man named Jack, who is here in London. He has aplastic anemia. We got to meet his oncologist, actually, which was really cool. Jack needs blood transfusions a lot. He has had nearly 200 now, I believe, and he will have to keep getting blood transfusions for the rest of his life. And that happens because people like us go and donate blood. So please, if you can, if you don't have a suit that you can go donate blood in, just throw on like a superhero shirt. Put on a Superman shirt. Put on a Batman shirt. Like Chantal, put your Batman shirt on and go donate blood. And then just put a hashtag on there, Suit Up for Jack, and let people know you're a hero and you're saving lives. So, and
it's like mandatory snack day because they make you eat snacks. So it's awesome.
It's a win-win.
It really
you save lives and you get snacks. It's perfect.
Sure is.
Yep. And if you go to one of the events, you get to hang out with a bunch of cool cosplayers. So you got
Also
that for
true.
free too. Yep. That's all I got. What about you, JS? You got anything else?
No, I think that's about it. We are going to try to bring some more cosplayers on the show. I think it just makes sense. We're cosplayers. Our community is cosplay, so we're going to keep bringing on cosplayers on the show, trying to do some features, some interviews. If there's anybody that you'd like to see on the show, let us know. We'll reach out and we'll see if we can make it happen.
Or let them know and have them reach out to us, and we're happy to put them on the show.
That too, definitely. Chantal, thank you so much again for coming.
Of course.
I don't really want to talk about what we're doing next because we're in talks with a bunch of stuff right now. So let's not spill those beans.
Spill all the beans yet.
But I'm very happy about the number one pick on this list here tonight. So I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you stay geeky, and we'll see you next week. Oh, what? No kiss for the camera tonight? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Geek Boutique Podcast. Like always, if you prefer to listen to us, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Now, make sure you don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to make sure you never miss anything.